Alright, what's going on everyone? Today we're going to take a look at the Cavalcade Challenger Deck and see if it's still playable after the Zendikar Rising standard rotation. And the short answer is, yeah, sort of. It's still pretty good. So first off, if you have the stock deck that came out of the box, you have a long way to go because technically the Cavalcade version of the deck is probably dead. Unfortunately it's dead because Cavalcade rotated. So here's the original deck list that came out of the box, and if we highlight the cards we're losing, it's bad. It's real bad. And most important, of course, the deck's namesake is gone, along with Scorch Spitter, 10th Street Dodger, Chandra, and the deck also loses Runaway Steam Can, Light Up the Stage. There's a lot. It's not good. However, Mono Red Aggro is kind of still alive. So the typical mono red aggro deck looks like this, and keep in mind there is some variation. There are different versions of the deck, but just to give you an idea, this is generally what a mono red aggro deck looks like. And if we highlight the cards this deck is losing, you'll notice it's losing not nearly as much. We still lose some amazing cards: Scorch Spitter, Steam Can, Light Up the Stage. All of these cards are great, but there's still a lot of really good cards that are still legal. Fervent Champion, Robber of the Rich, Rimrock Knight, all still legal. Bone Crusher Giant, Anax, Torbran, all still legal. Embercleave, still legal. So Mono Red still has a ton of very strong cards. The question is, are there replacements for these? And the answer is, like I said before, sort of. So first off, we have the interesting package with Akum Hellhound and Wayward Guide Beast. So when we play lands, the Hellhound is effectively a 1 mana 2/3, which is actually pretty insane. A 1 mana 2/3 is great. However, mono red decks don't typically play a lot of lands because they're aggro decks, so triggering this isn't very reliable. And then the Guide Beast, on the other hand, is very similar to one of the most powerful mono red aggro creatures in Magic, which is Goblin Guide. It's a 1 mana 2/2 with haste, very similar, although it comes with a pretty major drawback in that when we attack with it, we have to return a land to our hand, and that's not good because we still want to play Anax, we still want to play Torbran, right? We have these top end threats that are really good, and returning lands to our hand is not what we want to do. So yes, it does work well together, right? The Wayward Guide Beast returns lands to our hand so we can re-trigger Akum Hellhound, but I don't think these cards work with Anax and Torbran. It's like it's either or. You basically have to go all in on 1 and 2 drops, and definitely don't play 3 and 4 drops, or else this doesn't work. Plus it only works if you get both of them. If you get just the Wayward Guide Beast, then it's like, not good. If you get just Akum Hellhound, also not good. So these are great. Are they great? No, they're not great. These are not great. These are very much not great. Don't really like them that much. Akum Hellhound might be okay by itself, but I think this is a little bit too janky, not very reliable. On the other hand, we do have Kargan Intimidator, and this seems amazing. It's 2 mana for 3 power, exactly what you want in a mono red aggro deck. It can pump itself up to a 4/2. You can only do it once, but you can pay 1, make it a 4/2. You can also pay 1, give it trample, so a 4/2 trample is nice. And also you can make it harder to block. You can turn a creature into a coward, and then the cowards can't block it. So it's kind of similar to like Runaway Steam Can and 10th Street Dodger, right? We have 4 power for 2 mana, kind of. You also have the pay a mana, make it difficult to block, like 10th Street Dodger. So very similar, kind of similar to these cards. We lost both of these, but Kargan Intimidator kind of gives the impression of those. So I think this is actually really good. I personally would put Kargan Intimidator into my deck. I think it's pretty decent. We also get Fireblade Charger. It's a 1 mana 1/1, but it gets haste if it's equipped. So if we have Embercleave, we can equip it and it has haste. So it's not bad. And when it dies, it deals damage to the opponent based on how much power it has. So that by itself is decent, but I've seen people playing this in combination with Goblin Arsonist. This way we can attack aggressively and push damage through even if our stuff dies. When the Charger dies, it deals damage. When the Arsonist dies, it deals damage. And remember, this will work with Torbran. Goblin Arsonist deals 1 damage when it dies, but if we have Torbran, it turns into a lightning bolt. So Goblin Arsonist is very similar to Scorch Spitter, nowhere near as powerful because it doesn't trigger every turn. It doesn't trigger when we attack. It doesn't attack for 2 damage in the early game, but Fireblade Charger and Goblin Arsonist kind of gives the deck a different sort of theme in that it can attack super aggressively, and not only can it constantly dish out damage, but it can also deal damage once blockers start getting into play. And then Royal Eruption is also great in this deck. Lightning Strike is always standard playable. Every time Lightning Strike or a pseudo Lightning Strike is printed in standard, it's typically played. And even though it's not quite the same because it's a sorcery, not an instant, it can be kicked to deal 5 damage if you have the extra mana. And really the most important thing though is that it can kill a blocker or it can go face. So much removal in standard right now can only target creatures, and it's really frustrating. And finally we have something that can kill a blocker so we can attack, or it can just go straight to face to kill the opponent, which is exactly what Mono Red wants, and something that Mono Red has actually been lacking. Despite the fact that Mono Red has been so good, it's been lacking a spell like this, something that can kill blockers, something that can go face. And with Torbran, we don't even need to kick it, it's just gonna deal 5 damage regardless, so pretty good. It's basically what we've been looking for. It is sorcery speed, so it's a little clunky, it's not great, but overall, it's not bad. We also have Shatter Skull, Smashing, and Spikefield Hazard, and both of these are definitely playable. The Smashing is going to be an expensive card in paper, unfortunately, but if you happen to open any on Arena and paper, whatever, it can definitely go into the deck. Remember, you're an aggro deck, so paying 3 life for a land is totally fine. You're trying to kill your opponent as fast as possible. Your life total doesn't matter. You're going to kill the opponent faster no matter what, so paying 3 life for this is fine. You can also play it tapped if you find the opportunity to play it tapped without impacting what you can play. That's totally fine. And then it turns into a big burn spell in the late game, so that's pretty decent. A single copy definitely goes into the deck no matter what. And then the Hazard is also pretty good. It's a little bit sketchy because the land does come into play tapped, so it's okay, but like having lands come into play tapped is not what you want in an aggro deck. But a single copy is not bad because having a land that can turn into a burn spell in a mono red aggro deck is pretty good. And remember, with Torbran, this becomes a lightning bolt, 1 mana, 3 damage to anything. So I would say 1 copy of each of these in the place of mountains would be totally fine. Take 2 mountains out, put 1 of each of these in, that's fine. So this is a quick list that I put together. Don't copy paste this, I didn't test this. This isn't like a finished deck. I just took all the stuff that rotated out, I put some of the stuff that I mentioned in this video into it, just to give you an idea of what it can look like. I would highly recommend going on to like MTG Top 8 or MTG Goldfish or any place that posts competitive lists and see how the deck shapes up, because it will probably change over time. But generally speaking, I do think that mono red aggro is still very playable. So if you have the Cavalcade Challenger Deck and you are disappointed that your deck is rotating, fortunately, if you like the play style and you like mono red aggro, I think you're still good. I think you're still going to be able to play this after rotation. So there you go. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope this video was helpful, and I will see you in the next one.